when I am invested in the dance, I'm able to know the story you're able to tell. Now it'll be interesting because so many people then ask me, why ballet? I mean, you are a boy who is now a man. That is like most of the vicious stereotype. Why ballet? But if you go back to the story of my life, in quotes that I told you, I was built up in a family of rules. Ballet is a dance style of rules. You understand? It's interesting when you mention that when you see somebody, you have to think back, what's the backstory of this person? How did this person get here? When we meet people for the first time, or when people act the way they act towards us, one of the questions I love to ask is, what happened to you? I wasn't one of those dancers who knew I could dance from when I was small. You understand? I come from a very traditional family where dancing is just reserved for like the ladies, and you know, everybody like have their own rules regarding how they choose to express art. So I was in 300 level in the university studying law already, and then it was one Saturday, and then this girl is like, hi Emmanuel, so the Christmas carol in church is coming soon, so please just follow me to a dance studio to go rent costumes. Apparently I'm doing ballet and all. And I'm like, interesting. So I wasn't doing anything that Saturday, and then I decided to follow her. So when we got to the studio, this is no cliche. We stepped into the studio, and then when I saw the dancers, the wooden floor, I heard the music. There was just something about the environment that I felt that I had to be there. You understand? I had never seen ballet before. I had never seen ballet dancers being represented anywhere. But when I stepped into Marie Performing Arts Academy, that very day, I knew for sure that I had a future here. What the future was, I didn't know exactly, but I knew that something was. And then when we're done with the costume, I remember sitting with the dance instructor there, and then she's like, why don't you sign up for the classes? And I'm like, I have never danced before. And then she showed me a portrait of a girl on the wall, and she says that is the best student in the academy. And if I joined the academy and I worked very hard enough, that I was going to be her dance partner.
She said this word for you.
Yeah, so I guess being the dance partner to that girl was kind of like a motivating factor too. I signed up the next Saturday. And for 4 years straight, I never missed a Saturday of training. Wow. So 4 years back-to-back Saturdays was training at the studio, gave off partying and all of that. So when I started as at that time, of course, you know, dance schools, ballerinas need to be filled with children. So, and as at that time, I had a very small body, so you could pass me for like a 14-year-old kid. So in the studio as at then, I had friends who were 10, 7, teaching me how to do a plie. You understand? And I remember side comments from like some of the boys during the dance studio, like, what's this man coming here to do? That kind of thing. Like, who would ever want to consider being a ballet dancer at this age? You understand? But there was something that the art style gave me. You understand? A freedom to really express and not feel like I was in competition, or I had to behave, or I had to really say behave and be cared for. But with dance, especially in ballet, and when I was in that studio, I danced my heart out. Sometimes we came to train by 12 p.m. and then closing time would be 4, and I would dance till like 7. So until like, they're like, okay guys, sun is down, let's go. So basically that's how I started. It was really fun. Yeah.
Interesting. You saying it's made you not see anything as competition, you know, I think from my experience, knowing ballerinas, I think it's more of like competition for them.
Absolutely.
Who has the
highest extension,
who is more flexible and all of that. So I'm trying to imagine how was yours different? Like how were you able to not see it in that way, or not to think of, okay, you're in a competition with maybe the person who, like the girl they said, is the best. Then how are you not able to see that, okay, you need to make your extension really wide so you can be better than her, or, so how were you able to position your mind to not even consider competition as part of the thing?
So that's a very interesting question. So the thing is, for the team, the dancers, everybody should had like their special, their killer move, in quotes, you understand? So when I came into the studio space, I didn't come from a space of I knew how to do this. I came from a space of this is fun, this is something different, this is something different from where I'm coming from, this is something different from classroom, you understand? This is music, and then these people are like doing pirouettes, sometimes 5, and instead of me seeing that as competition, I'm even amazed, like, oh my gosh, how, you understand? Yeah. When people do lifts and I'm really happy. And when I even watch them, because at that time I wasn't performing with them because they had like a performing duet team or something. And then when I watch them perform and I see the way people clap for them, and I felt proud to belong to that studio space, even though I wasn't performing. So it felt, I was coming from a space of, this is incredible, than, I should know how to do that and all of that. When I've trained for a particular period of time, and then I have been able to own my own space or earn my own space in the studio, the love that we all had for like each other made us complement each other as opposed to compete with each other. I would never forget a performance we did at Faith Arena or Miracle Center in Benin. Like everybody just had something very different. There was this very beautiful fair girl that was very graceful. And gosh, when you see her, you see a ballerina, yeah? And then you have her dance partner that was like super flexible and was like flying everywhere. So the complements of both grace and flexibility or technique just made the dance come together as a whole. So we were not brought up in an atmosphere of competing against each other. Rather, it was more of love and family, of like really harmonizing and complementing each other. So, yeah.
So you saying you came from your parents with like deep traditional roots. What do you mean by that?
Okay, so great. What I meant by traditional was my parents considered safety. You understand? Safety in profession, safety in expression, safety basically everything we did, the way we lived our life was to make us safe. What that means is you grow up, you go to school, you go to primary school at the age you are supposed to go to primary school, you go to secondary school at the age you are supposed to be in secondary school, you go to university, you study the course that will ensure your safety in the future, financial stability, in quotes. My elder sister is a doctor, she works in the hospital. My elder brother is an engineer. He's outside the country now. Same with my other elder brother. Then me, a lawyer. So our path was kind of like designed in a way to keep us safe. So again, in quotes, to take care of your parents at their old age. So my father always believed that these roles belong to a man and these roles belong to the woman, and the woman should always ask for permission from the man to do anything, and also everything was really conventional and quite sweet because there was no room for chaos. You understand? Everybody knew what they had to do. You know, you have to study very hard to graduate with a good grade in school and all. So yeah, that's what I meant by very, very, very traditional. It's your traditional African home where everybody, you know your roles literally right from birth. You know you cannot call your elder ones out when they probably do something because they are your senior. So yeah, basically that's it for me.
These roles, were they chosen by you, like in terms of like your study now, you're studying law? Was it something like you wanted to do all your time, or something like your dad said, okay, I would like you to study law, and I would like you better to study engineering, I would like you to study medicine and all?
I always wanted to be a lawyer, right? My dad wanted me to be a medical doctor. again, it's the security. Not like there was anything wrong with it, but as at that time, doctors were like the talk of the town and all. So I chose to be a lawyer. I loved the way lawyers dressed. They were smart and they spoke sharp, you understand, and all that. So since my father felt that that was a noble profession, then of course he had no issue with it. But I still low-key think that, oh gosh, if only my son was a medical doctor, yeah, that would have,
Yeah,
like,
still
really,
has that.
yes, I think there's something there about him. But law in and of itself was actually considered one of the top 3 professions in those days. So that is why I'm a lawyer. But that was why being a lawyer was accepted by him. But I personally wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
Yes, and that's why I'm practicing to now.
Okay. So how about now having dance added to it? Is it something he's interested in? Like seeing that, okay, you're a lawyer and you're also dancing.
My dad doesn't support of me being a dancer. Quite frankly, he doesn't have to. You understand? It has been a long time coming for me. You understand? As a child, that I won't say I was my dad's favorite, but I'll say I was one of his favorite because I was that child who listened. I'm that child who used to sit here and then he would sit. I'm that child who studied to come out with good results, not because I actually cared, honestly, but because I wanted to make my dad happy. Now, having this kind of expression, or rather discovering this kind of expression through dance, was something that my dad wasn't proud of. And over the years, it has hit me because this is one part of my life that my father doesn't approve of. What heights will I not get to if only my dad would support me? You understand? But it is not his fault, and I do not blame him. Honestly, I think that he has his own reason, he has his own perception of life, as he is entitled to, and I do mine. I just think that his view hurts me and has affected my decisions, especially my dance career over the years. I'll tell you what, my dad didn't want to come to my convocation when I graduated from school because I didn't graduate with first class, of which he knew I was capable of, and I knew too, because nearly all my friends did graduate to first class. But to be honest, I think like I had to dedicate my time to in dance, so I don't see that as a loss. You understand? I started dancing late, of course, so I don't expect to just train on Saturdays and expect to be where I am now. You understand? So I had to dedicate my time to equally to dance. And then he came for the convocation because the love for his son doesn't know any bounds. He came, and then the next morning he called everybody in the family at 5 a.m., called a family meeting and was like, he is not happy because of my results in school. And he knew when I lost my focus in life. And I lost my focus in life when I started dancing. He said those words to me, and my heart really, really was broken in that sense. And why that was very injurious to me as at that time was because for every decision I had to make when it comes to dance, I asked myself if I really have lost my focus. You'd understand that Nigerian parents, they are no like the demigods. What your father says is right, what your mom says is right, because they are the representation of God on earth. So if your father says you've lost your focus, bro, you've lost your focus. So, but there was something about dance that whenever I danced, I felt I was doing the right thing. You understand? Dance doesn't give you medals and quotes, doesn't give you so much money. So there's nothing to track to say, okay, I'm doing incredible in dance. But dance gives you that satisfaction. When you dance, you are in that moment. And when you see the expression on the audience face, for some reason, it just makes you feel that you are doing the right thing. But the words from my dad as at that time had made me question my every decision. If I probably want to go to Juilliard, for instance, to dance and to pursue a dance career, I ask myself, am I doing the right thing? Am I giving value to my society? Am I causing my dad so much pain by following this path? But I mean, here there comes a time in a man's life that you have to decide for you, and everybody else will fall in line. So, yeah, he doesn't approve, but he doesn't have to. Yeah.
Talking about satisfaction in dance, I will agree with you on that because there's always this fulfillment when one just position himself in that space of movement, and I see it as a way to also stop time, because there's this unawareness whenever you are in the studio. Sometimes you could just come out and like everywhere is dark because you are not presently in this space anymore. Dance is taking you into that space of the unknown, of it's just you now. What will you do? What can you accomplish? What can you create? How can you be? How can you live? How can you think? So getting that whole fulfillment in dance, it's very, very understandable because it has no boundary. It has no rules. In as much some dances or some style has rules, but movement has no rules. It gives you that choice to say, or it makes you derive that choice for yourself and not it saying, okay, it has to be this way. It's more like you just living through every step you take in your dance movement and all. So there's always this satisfaction that comes with the freedom it gives you. And it's really hard to just say you're even doing the wrong thing. But I think the moment it's now starts to dawn on most of us is when we allow ourselves to be in that subconsciousness of we not realizing that it's not just about us sometimes, but it's also about what we have to give as humans, what we have to get also as human, and how we can also sustain certain stuffs, certain things like this career of a thing. There are measures at which we need to take to also sustain this passion. Because there's a stage, there's an age you will get to. Don't worry, your passion or that freedom that's giving you is not enough.
I'm there.
You have to add something else to it, and it has to. I see it as a give and take. Yeah. So most times when we just give into the passion and the passion is, or when we just take from the passion, like the passion is giving us this, it's giving us that. What are you giving to the passion to make this passion continue to give you that whole joy and that freedom? How are you able to feed the passion to continue to feel like you're doing the right thing?
I think I have been able to separate myself from like the art of dance. Sometimes we want to exist together. I always want to be Emmanuel the dancer, right? But I think that over my years as I've grown, dance makes you feel like a youth forever. But trust in the society, some commitments, some responsibilities will come keep knocking. So what I do is I separate myself from the dance and I ask myself, how am I growing as an individual? You understand? How am I growing? What steps am I taking to make sure that I am better than the person, not even than the dancer I was yesterday, than the person? And what I am is I'm a dancer. So by the time I've done this separation and I've really asked myself this question and I'm seeking ways to improve myself, just doing that, me as a dancer too improves. And I love what you say, and it's really true. One of the ways that I've helped improve is having the idea that I have to give back. You understand? Give back. And sometimes, right, to be honest, we think that when we give back, we are giving back to people and they take away. If we are being honest in ourselves, it's the feeling you get when you give back to people. You understand? Sometimes it has this feeling it brings back to you. You understand? To make you feel like you are being impactful. And at the end of the day, what are we living for? If not that when we leave this world, people remember the things we do for them. You understand? I have been able to, by the grace of God, impact people's life through dance. I have people who says, my mom now sees me as a different person just because I came to the Slum to Stage program to dance. You understand? So things like this are what do it for me. So if I was always in the dance, in and of itself, okay, I'm flying to Ghana, I'm flying to Rwanda and all these places, and then I'm just dancing on stage. for a while, I'll be exhausted. You understand? It's almost like you're making deposit and you're withdrawing at the same time. When you keep withdrawing so much without making deposits, you go to the bank and you discover that there's nothing there. You understand? So when I have fulfilled my passion in dance, what I do is I remove myself as a dancer and then I ask myself, how do I grow as a person? Inevitably, some of my growth starts to show in my dance because when I say, okay, I want to now become more financially responsible, one, I want to improve in my dance technique. Two, I want to improve in my law career. Three, so all these decisions make me a better person. But remember that decision number 2 is making me a better dancer. So yeah, basically separate yourself from the art sometimes, so you don't get lost in illusion.
True that. True on that. I'm trying to pick up on something that you said about separating yourself from the art. You know, sometimes it might feel scary, you know. There's this fear of, oh, I'm gonna lose the skill. Or someone else will come after me and, you know, will be good. And there's this, it will look like I don't have anything again to give, you know. In terms of the skill, like probably I'm out of content or I'm out of works or so. And I think this is something most of we as artists, I won't just put it at dancers, you know, in as much dance also take that major part in terms of not wanting to look like you're out of or you're outdated. Everybody wants to just drop content and, you know, so it's really hard for them to even like take a step back and see what they've been dropping and try to like connect it to their current state and see if there's this connection with their reality.
Okay, just to really keep it short, it's very, very incredibly true what you said about taking the realities of society and then letting it pass through your art. And this is what I have to say about you worrying if people come after you and then if you go bland or you lose the skill. First things first, people will come after you. It is the way of the world. The sun rises and it sets. People come and people go. But what we remember is you. And that is why it's really important that people have to separate the art of dance from themselves. You know why? Because the spotlight doesn't follow, the spotlight follows the star around, not the other way. You understand? You cannot lose your magic when you are the magic. You are the skill. You understand? The skill is not always what you do. Sometimes the skill is who you are. So you don't have to get worried about maybe stepping away from dance and then losing it. It's not rocket science. You are a dancer, even when you are, until the day you die. And peradventure, when they're reading your biography, they'll read that you are a dancer. So even in our hearts, you'll be dancing forever. You understand? I think most times it's the fear, you understand, of not wanting to lose the skill that now makes us lose it. When people call me for a job, right? Yes, they want a ballet performance, but they honestly want me. You understand? Yeah. So, and it is when I've been able to separate myself and make myself a better person, that's when I'm able to dance better. Because anybody can do a pas de bourrée, anybody can do a fifth position, anybody can do a leg walk. But how do you do it? When I call you for a performance, it's because I want to see how you do it. You understand? I mean, I would have called anybody else. You understand? When it comes to ballet in Nigeria, people like big companies shouldn't even be calling ballet dancers in Nigeria, because honestly, I've almost been invited for a wedding. My dance teacher even told us the story that there's a dance academy in Benin, right? Where they had ballerinas, people doing ballet. And then we were going to perform for Lady Cherry, that's Benito's wife, one of the wives.
Okay.
She went abroad and brought in ballet dancers from overseas.
Wow.
Why there are ballet dancers in Nigeria? So quite all right, when people want to see the technique of ballet, it's okay. But most times when people call you for a job, it's because they want to see you. So regardless, even if your leg can't go all the way to a perfect developer, it's how you do it.
That was shots fired. Like, that's it. What you said, just said, that's it.
Yeah.
It's really important for you to also like develop yourself aside from just the skill. Very, very important. And I also see what you're also doing with the kids, you know, as part of your giving back. Or why Slum to Stage?
So I have been teaching kids all over Nigeria before Slum to Stage.
Okay.
I have been training kids through art artists. I've been training kids through clarinets. I've been training kids even outside Nigeria, right? So it was in one of my trips, I traveled to Rwanda through Mind Lips, a company too that helps bridge the gap between academic and arts in the United States. And then they train kids in 5 African countries. So I'm one of their international trainers. So I'd gone to Rwanda to train out of school children and help them develop skills that they will need to go back to school. And then after the training in Rwanda, I came back to Nigeria, and after a while, I went back to Guinea, Conakry with the same company, and then I trained over 40 teenagers and young adults that were going to become staff and dance teachers of the company. And then the team, myself, a trainer from Rwanda and a trainer from Mauritania, were able to produce the first set of female dance trainers in the country. My point is, while I was doing all these things, I saw how the children felt in these countries. And then I knew I was coming from a place where my community needed this kind of happiness, especially from the children. They needed a place that they could go where they could live in the moment, where they could just dance and be happy. They needed a place where they could be given the opportunity to dance in front of people who will appreciate them. And then I remember asking the company, I mean, you guys are in 5 African countries. Nigeria is the giant of Africa. So why is the company not in Nigeria? And then they gave their excuse. And then I came back to Nigeria, and then I thought, am I going to wait until this company, because their method of teaching dance is different. It is not your average dance academy or dance school where they focus on technique, right? Much of their method of teaching dance influenced the methodology and curriculum Slum to Stage is now using to teach dance. So I thought to myself, do I have to wait until this company comes to save us, in quotes? What can I do to give the children in my community the same experience, where ballet is not just taught for the developer and for the plié and for the really looking straight and looking perfect, but ballet is taught through social behavioral skills like teamwork, like memorization, like grit. Ballet is a very, very intense dance style. So while people focus on the fact that, oh my gosh, a ballerina can point her toes or stand on her toes, her entire body weight is just on one toe, we focus on the strength it's taking the ballerina to stand on her toe and help children develop that perseverance. You understand? So when they come to the dance studio and then they do their push-ups and then they sweat, they are developing the strength it will take them to even go home and maybe not have lunch, but know that they are supposed to wait until dinner and not maybe become wild. You understand? They know that if they have to walk to school, it's the same perseverance and strength that they train in the studio that helps them to look forward and know that, okay, I can walk this distance and I won't relax at home just because there's no money to go to school. You understand? For the skill in memorization, we in Slum to Stage train children and we focus on not them just being able to do the routine as a team, but to remember the routine for themselves, because we believe that when a child can remember a routine, they can remember their maths and their English. You understand? And then same thing here in teamwork as well. You understand? We train children to watch out for themselves. You understand? You as the dance teacher can come, give some counts of choreography and leave. and tell the children to fill in the remaining 18 counts of choreography. Then you're able to see which child is more creative, which child should I focus on, which child needs more help with their self-esteem and all of that. So much of this influenced the whole curriculum for Slum to Stage. I am very grateful to the incredible team I have working at Slum to Stage, because they understand the assignments, that we do not care 100% about your technique. We do not care if your legs are perfect and torn out. Quite frankly, yes, there's a space for that in the world, but we care more about the social emotional skill. When I am invested in the dance, I'm able to know the story you are able to tell. Now, it will be interesting because so many people then ask me, why ballet? I mean, you are a boy who is now a man. That is like most of the vicious stereotype. Why ballet? But if you go back to the story of my life, in quotes that I told you, I was built up in a family of rules. Ballet is a dance style of rules. You understand? It's interesting when you mention that when you see somebody, you have to think back, what's the backstory of this person? How did this person get here? When we meet people for the first time, or when people act the way they act towards us, one of the questions I love to ask is, what happened to you? You understand? When I grew up, or where I'm coming from, being a family of rules, now getting to experience an art style that has rules, it is only natural that I resonate towards the art style. Now, it is those rules that actually set me free, because I was being able to be my true self. You understand? I was being able to follow the rules. You get? And then I saw this dance that, in as much as it says, okay, the rule is that when you are in second position or last second, your hands must be really straight, right? But in getting to that second, I can do just this, or I can really do this. So there's a personality, and then it allows you to really be free. You understand? So that's where I'm really coming in with using ballet, and then really coming from the inside. When it comes to Slum to Stage and the motive why people do what they do, I mean, like you said, I am that very huge champion who's like, okay, why must it be the slum? Just to get maybe attention and all these things. Because I mean, when a child doesn't have the shoes to wear, everybody now starts running out. What happens to those in the middle class? What happens to those who are not very rich, which is where I come from, and those who are not very poor? Those are the ones that really get unnoticed. What happens to the person who doesn't take first to third, and who doesn't take last? Because when you take first, they praise you. When you take last, they probably bash you. What happens when you're somewhere in the 10th position? Nobody even cares. You understand? So the whole idea for Slum to Stage was less of picking people from this slum, but having the idea that no man will be left behind, regardless of where you are. No child will be left behind. So yes, I as an individual, I serve on that Royal Arts Academy to train kids normally. So you have kids from all spheres of life coming in to train. But then I will say that this art style will not only be reserved for these children. I will take this art style to places where on the norms it will not be experienced. If the children love it, fine, then come train. If they don't love it, at least they've had a chance, an opportunity. They won't leave this world without knowing what ballet looks like. That was the whole point. So it was never about taking children from a place and then fine-tuning them and putting them on the stage. It was about going to places where this art style do not exist and training children in the values using this dance style. You understand? So now a child can become a leader tomorrow by having values like empathy for someone else, which we teach here through dance. Going forward, we hope to organize school tours around underserved government schools in Abuja, schools in places like Kubwa, like Gwarinpa Village, like Dutse, like Dawaki, and all these places. Go in there and do just one thing, dance, right? And when we dance, part of the campaign is that we are trying to now still sensitize the children as well as their teachers on the importance of performing arts and academic skills. By God's grace, I have recently been selected as one of the Global Youth Ambassadors for the award. And they are working on the United Nations SDG Goal 4, which is inclusive and diverse education for all.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. When you talk about education, the first thing that comes to your mind is academic education. But nowhere in the definition of education has it been said that the education is reserved for primary school, secondary school, university, or anything that has to do with learning in academic skills. Academic skills are quite privileged as opposed to creative, performing, or vocational skills. And that also is one of Slum to Stage's objective to like really change. The educational system is very slow to change. But we hope that with this school tour, we're able to like bridge the gap and tell them that, yo, the memorization that people memorize dance routine, you memorize your leg work, say 4 steps into this, into that, helps you memorize your maths and English. When a child can dance before an audience, that self-esteem, that self-confidence helps him to raise his hand up and answer question in class. You understand? So when we go to schools with this campaign, we get the students who are interested, speak to their parents, and then have them train in the program. After a period of 3 to 4 months, we have an event in Transcorp or any other place of luxury. And I'm saying this with my full chest. The aim again is that people, or rather these kids, are able to see past their immediate environment and know that they can step into a place like Transcorp and someone like Tony Elumelu can sit and watch them dance and applaud them. You understand? There they know that, oh, there's something more inside of me than where I'm coming from, than the gutters, than seeing maybe chickens littering everywhere, than living in a house that the roof is leaking. I can go to Transcorp and see the chandeliers and see the lights. I can go and see people who are neatly dressed and speaking good English. When I see these people, I know that I can become like them in the future. That is the essence of using an institution like the Transcorp Hilton. So people can know that they can dream beyond what they can see or where they are coming from.
So this training goes for how long, and is there like a mission aside from just the kids? Like, is there like aim to create works? Or because I know there was like live stage performance, and you also had like an exhibition where I think I saw some of the pictures. So is there like other things aside from the training and all?
Apart from the training, right, one other objective for Slum to Stage is that we are able to sustain our influence or impact in the life of these children. So after the child, in quote, goes through the training program lasts for a minimum of 3 months and for a maximum of 6, depending on the funds we have to sustain the particular program. But we love to like keep the children for a minimum of 3 months to be able to like track progress. So some of these children, most of these children who have like shown exceptional artistry, we get to like really continue giving them jobs as dancers. That way the children can have funds to like help their mom at home, sustain for like some toiletries and all this stuff. And then when they perform and we have people who hear that story and all these things, they can gain sponsorship to like further their, even if secondary school education and all these things. The idea for the whole photo exhibition was that there should be representation of Nigerian ballet dancers as much as possible. Because one, it is easy for you to go to the internet and see pictures of black dancers, you understand? Super incredible that the community over there have done. But I should be able to see my brother from my village doing a particular pose and believe that if I train so much, I can do it. But without our movements being captured in time through photographs, that representation will not be there in the future. When we had the event at Transcorp Hilton, one of the reasons for the exhibition was so that we can be able to raise funds. Especially that is why majority of the pictures were mine and maybe some other trusted artists that I know. Because we just wanted to, we were just starting and then we wanted ways to raise funds to make sure that we're able to kickstart the program without having to wait for, or rather having to wait on the messes of sponsors. So we sell these photographs, and when people buy, 30% of the proceeds go back to these children who we are training to basically help them as regards their transportations to the studio or feeding in the afternoon.
I was always one of those kids that would always want to take first, second, third, fourth in school. Absolutely okay. when I gained admission into the university when I was 14 years old. Yes. And you can do that too with absolute focus in what your teacher is teaching you. Do you understand? Yes. At age 15, when I was nearly turning 16, that was when I found dance for the first time. And to be honest with you, dance has changed my life forever. Now, my parents had their doubts because as a dancer, you expect me to have to wear ripped jeans, maybe dye my hair and have that kind of swag, and maybe look scurvy a bit. But dance, especially ballet, really helped me to bring out expression from the inside. Through dance, I have been able to travel to Rwanda, Guinea, and even teach most people here in Nigeria. Right? When I travel to these countries and I taught those kids from probably on the south areas, and then I watched them perform during festivals, it made me think, who is doing this kind of thing in my country? Are there organizations in Nigeria that can actually teach you how to dance without paying? You understand? So instead of waiting for that organization, the organization is in US, it's in New York, instead of waiting for them to come to Nigeria, I decided to create that experience here in Nigeria, through Slum to stage.
Like I said, foundation for me. I'm trying to channel down your story to now. There's so much connection to it. There's so much passion to it. And even knowing how you even found the passion for dance already is you know, like you said, you go to schools and you give them the chance. When you got into that studio, you were given a chance. You know, that chance was like, because you weren't supposed to even see that. You just said, let me follow. That's my friend. And at that moment, the chance was there for you. Would you want to do this? Not really knowing. I'm sure at that moment, you really don't know what you'll be doing now.
Honestly.
You see, so it's like giving that chance, and that growth so far, like we spoke about, you also separating yourself from the art and growing yourself, and those decisions from, family, society, neglecting all of those stereotypes and just focusing on, okay, it's me and it's this. My studies, my ballet. After my studies, my work, my ballet. Myself, my work, my ballet. That whole constant, growth in just that. And there's always something that follows up with it. Change. Change in yourself, change of people around you, change of environments, change of places you start to see yourself in, and change of perspective of who is this guy now becoming. What does this guy think he is? How is this guy able to get here? That whole change of perspective from people's mind, or even you as a person, your friends and all, it's that change. I'll still go back to it being scarier sometimes.
Absolutely. It is scary then and it is scary now. And it will be scary in the future. Do you understand? But there's one person that remains constant even when everything around you changes. And that is you. To yourself, be true. And trust me, if I have any regrets in life, which is not a regret because I'm thankful for the growth, is that you must be willing to change quickly. You understand? You must be willing to change quickly. Most of the relationships that I had that had gone sour was because I did not allow myself to change that relationship as quickly as I should. And when you've grown, right? When you've grown as an individual, you tell yourself, this is who I am. But we are constantly evolving. You understand? So we're not allowing ourselves to change when that change comes will cost us. You understand? The change will come in the people you speak with. The change will come in the people you spend your time with. The change will come in the way you spend your time. You understand? Sometimes it's not always about the people. Sometimes it's about you. But when we are focused on the outside, we get to lose it. We really will get to lose it. I will give you a very good example. I believe that over the course of my life, I've been prepared in ways that I didn't know I was being prepared for. For instance, I didn't know I was ever going to find Slum to stage, or I was going to do all these things. But before then, I had traveled to Rwanda to teach out of school children, or Guinea, or I've even been teaching children in other organizations here in Nigeria. I didn't know I was going to find mine, but all those things taught me to, or rather, gave me the skills I needed now that I'm doing this for myself, right? And now, the way I've spent my time these days changed, or rather, is changing. Sometimes you sit in yourself, you know that you have work to do, but then maybe you're being invited to come out and all, and you don't go, and then you're alone in your house, and then you now start asking yourself, am I sure I'm not becoming boring? Am I losing out from life? Am I doing all these things? But at the end of the day, you have to make the decisions for yourself and stick with the consequences, no matter how that decision is. So change is scary, it always is, you understand? But then again, you have to just be true to yourself and not really hold yourself back.
As we were as you were talking about you not knowing that you will find the Slum to stage, and traveling to Rwanda already preparing you, I could connect because I've also understood this thing about the universe. It's always giving us chances to things. I'm going back to we using the word chance, It's always preparing us for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's up to us to see and pick. Like they say, opportunity comes every day. I'll take it down to when I wanted to start this speaking dance. When I got my camera, I never knew I would want to document the dancing, highlight any dancer, or have any interview. This is not my forte. I don't know how to speak in public. But there's just this thing about the universe that the moment it told me, get the camera, I got the camera.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to use the camera.
Mm-hmm.
But I already knew that I had this love for directing. I have this love for, positioning things and making things, come alive or so. I had this love. So, but getting the camera, I don't know how to use it. But there's just this constant preparation it gives me. It's like, okay, there's this thing that will come up. I will do it. I will try and find my way around it and all of that. So that preparation has already been coming to me. Like I've been going through that process. Not until the idea came to me. I'm like, yo, this is something that we lack in the industry. How can we, challenge it, or how can we change it? Because me, I'm this kind of person that don't believe in so much of talking. I'm more of like the action.
Yeah.
Like instead of me going to complain to why MTV Base is not interested in highlighting we as dancers, instead of just as backup dancers for musicians, so I'd rather say, okay, let me create something for me, my own self. I've always been that kind of person. Even if you have a gig and you feel like, okay, my price is too high, or you cannot reach out to me, I don't mind. I will go get my own gig. So there's always this preparation the universe always gives us that we need to really pay attention to. Now, that camera I bought 2 years ago, 2 years ago, it's very useful. Imagine now this idea came to me, and when they had told me, okay, buy the camera. By now, I'll be running mad, trying to get a full team, or even to rent cameras too, because that's another expense. So like that whole opportunity it gives us, it takes a lot of listening. It takes a lot of listening for us to see that, okay, yes, this is what is in vogue now.
Yeah.
Follow up. This is what I'm saying now. This is what I'm feeling now. Okay, how can we? And it takes one to also separate, himself
Mm-hmm.
from the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
from the normal thing you are used to, to also find that voice that wants you to do certain thing, to also find your place in whatever you're supposed to do, And also this also is leading me to this quote I found on your website. It says, "We must allow ourselves the grace to be traveling and not arriving, to choose deep personal progress rather than mere societal expected movements." What state of mind were you when you penned this down? What were you thinking of? How were you feeling at that moment in time?
So the mindset I had then was trying to remain who I was while all these changes were occurring. Now, I was going through these processes. I was training, I was traveling, I was performing, I was teaching, I was going through a lot. And people were, when people say, when people talk to you about yourself and you're like, I don't see this about myself, you understand? I was changing, but I did not know that I was changing. You understand? I was being given so much responsibility at a time, and I was still operating as the Emmanuel before I was given all these opportunities, or before I was going through all these processes. So when I wrote that, it was from a space of really allowing ourselves to change through the changes that we are going through. Life will throw these changes at you. Life will give you opportunities to grow. Life will open these processes for you. But will you have the courage to step in? Will you have the courage to say, no, I've played polite long enough. Now it's time to play full out. Will you go for it instead of maybe waiting for your father or your mother to say, now you're enough? Will you wait for that spouse that will say, now go be free? You understand? Or will you go for all of it and allow yourself become the better person at the end of the day? Because the world needs you. You as a person. You understand? All the metamorphosis you go through to become a better person gives us that satisfaction of operating in a better space tomorrow. But if you allow yourself to be who you were 2 years ago, when we are looking for you now in this present time, you will not be here. You may be physically there, but intellectually, you will not be there. You understand? So do yourself that favor, and do all of us that favor too, to constantly allow yourself change and trust that you are capable of becoming more. Really, you are capable. Really trust yourself. So when you will change, the process will always happen. It will always happen, but will you trust yourself to go through it?